Hi, I'm Lydia with Revelation Real Estate, and today on our podcast we have Elaine Poker-Yount with Visiting Angels. She's also the creator of Successful Aging Conferences, the Community Outreach and Education, and she also actually writes for the Arizona Republic. So, Elaine, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Lydia. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So the other thing I didn't mention, too, was that you're also dementia-friendly through the city of Tempe, and then you also have your dementia practitioners.
I'm a dementia champion, so I teach those classes.
Right.
It's an awareness class program through the Dementia Friendly Tempe.
Okay.
And I'm a certified dementia practitioner, and I'm also certified with the TIPA SNO Positive Approach to Care. So I'm a trainer.
Okay.
For dementia care.
So you are kind of my go-to person when I obviously work with a lot of seniors, and one thing that I do know about you is that you've worked with seniors for a long time, correct?
Yeah, close to 30 years.
So you're one of my go-to folks. I have just a couple of them, and you're one of them. And one of the things I've noticed and I know you probably have the same thing, is when an adult child is dealing with their senior loved one, the first thing is they don't know where to even start. So you probably get a lot of those clients with all of the resources that you have as well. Is that correct?
Certainly. When I started with Visiting Angels, I've been there 8 years, and probably about year 2, we made a switch from clients themselves calling to a higher percentage of their children calling to engage care for parents. And now I would say probably, well over 50% of the calls that we get are from adult children versus clients themselves.
And are those adult children, a lot of them are, it's usually a urgent situation that puts them in the pattern of, what do we do with mom or dad now? Do we keep them home? Do we get home health care? Is that more of what the issue is than just mom needs a little bit of help here and there? Is there more of someone fell or had
in the last 2 years, it's much more crisis driven than it has been prior to that. Prior to that, people would get in a little help and they would do it slowly and they would acclimate. And oftentimes when you do it that way, you prevent the crisis.
Right.
But I would say in the past 2 years, the rate of crisis management has escalated through the roof.
Okay. So we are... That's one reason why we started the podcast, was to help our aging population. There's so many resources out there, and a lot of people don't even know that they exist. So, and one of your seminars that you have with your Successful Aging conferences is the sandwich generation. So give us a little bit of information on that.
Okay. That is a fairly well-known term in the industry. It's not necessarily known, as well-known. We found out with just people who are going through it, because most people, the reason is most people don't consider themselves caregivers. They just consider themselves parents or spouses, or they just consider themselves kids who need to do that. That term caregiver, even though they are, does not even cross their mind.
They don't even think about it.
So even though we're doing sandwich generation thing, I've kind of changed the terminology a little bit on my end to the roadmap edition. Because every journey needs a roadmap, and aging is no different. So I've kind of made a little transition there in that process. But looking at what that piece is, anytime we get a situation like that, we go in and as Visiting Angels, and we do an assessment. We do a free assessment. We look at what their situation is and what their goals are. And once we have their goals established, do they want to try and stay at home as long as possible? Do they want to move out? It's not even possible. Where does the affordability come in? What are we looking at it? We look at health. We look at wellness. We look at finances. We look at how big their village is, how big is their circle, what do they have? Because we get a lot of children that call from out of state, from out of country, and they're trying to manage things, and they may even be powers of attorney, but powers of attorney don't come into play unless somebody can't make that decision. So now sometimes there's, a meeting of the minds that isn't, matching up. So trying to help negotiate that. But it really all starts with a conversation, and if we can get that conversation to be proactive versus reactive, the options we have are so much greater. So that's something that I talk about at almost any talk that I ever do and put forward to get people, because people talk about the big stuff. They talk about the banking, they talk about the attorneys, they talk about funeral arrangements, but they don't talk about the day-to-day life of what it's like when one spouse gets sick, or, we run out of money here, or, something's, we're alone, and there isn't anybody to be with them. And a lot of people don't want strangers in their home, so we have to navigate, how do you get what you want, but somewhere there's got to be a compromise. And where it becomes difficult for people is making decisions for people when we have no idea what they want. So if we've had that conversation ahead of time to get an idea, at least we have a little bit of a map to know where to go.
And I know I have a mother that's healthy, thank goodness, but we've had those conversations as to what happens when or if, or and I know you've had those conversations even with your family members, and that's probably the hardest thing for an adult child or someone in the family who has an elderly person to have that conversation. So what are some of the better ways of getting that topic out there to those folks that have those issues?
Well, if we're really being proactive, we can start that conversation with, we're not there yet, but how do you? I went to this class, I read this article, I saw this book, I was talking with a friend, and they were experiencing this. What if that happens to us and our family? How would you want it happen then? We're not there, but let's make a little plan. You always taught us to have a plan. Let's get that plan. If we're in the middle of something, which more often than not, we've waited to that point. So when we're in the middle of something, I know this is hard, but let's just lay out the options. Let's put on paper what the options are. This is our ideal. This is what we wish. This is how we'd prefer it to be. Here are the things we absolutely don't want. And let's see if any of those pieces can be reality. We kind of go through. I mean, I do that with my kids. I did it with my mom. Because my dad died at a point. He went kind of quickly. And so when you can look at all those things in one place on a piece of paper, as again we were taught to do from the beginning of time, it's just kind of living your own reality, taking your own advice, and go through. It helps you to kind of see where you have wiggle room and where you have comfortable and where people really react. But I understand how you feel. I respect that. This is what you're thinking you want to do, yada, 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 whatever those are. But really empathizing, not sympathizing, because nobody wants sympathy. But how would we feel if it was us? We have to kind of have these conversations with ourselves. So because the minute I say, Lydia, what are you going to do if tomorrow you were told you couldn't drive anymore? Did you not just get one tiny little flutter in your stomach when I said that? Unless you can feel how it would feel, you can't really understand how they're feeling. So that makes it a little bit easier, I think.
Yeah, and I do know that it's different for every family situation, and I do know, losing their driver's license is probably, or not being able to drive anymore is probably one of the bigger issues.
Because it's their independence.
It's their independence.
Yeah, it is the biggest issue.
And then I do know that, a lot of times, at least my clients as well as probably yours, is they don't want to tell their family that they need that help. So isn't that part of the dynamics when it comes to things like that as well?
Absolutely, because they think if they show any kind of weakness that somebody's going to come in and try and take over the situation. And again, it's that respectful piece. So if you notice things, go stay for a couple days. Go be visible. Not with a tribe. Don't bring your family. Don't bring everybody. Just go stay. Just go alone. Just go visit and stay a few days so you can see what the actual reality of the situation is, because that will make it a little bit easier. Or if somebody's telling you, mom's getting bad, and you go and you see there's nothing wrong with Mom.
Right,
well,
because she's okay for that little bit of short time.
But at that moment, Mom's little amygdala was saying, nobody's going to find out about me. And she rises to the occasion, and she is perfect for the entire week that you're there, and then collapses when you leave.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the part. You know, they say, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. But a lot of times when families visit, they don't stay in the home. They stay at a hotel. They get together at, you know, little pieces of time. They're not there for the long haul. But the in-home visits can really give you a much better picture of what's really going on. You see what's in the fridge. You see what's in the cupboard. You see what's laying around, what's not being dealt with.
Right. And how... Obviously, we live in a state where there's a lot of out-of-state family members. Either we live here and our adult parents live somewhere else, or vice versa. We have a lot of winter visitors and their adult children live outside of the state. So obviously, you work with a lot of adult children that are out of state. What is your suggestion for those types of family dynamics when they can't actually be in the same state together? Do you recommend that they move closer to the family, or have their family loved one come to them? Or I know it probably depends on the situation, but
I don't ever make recommendations to people about anything, because it's just not anybody's place.
Right.
You know, sometimes you can have things, but I help them lay out the picture. But I suggest when they come to town that they get a good picture of what their reality is. Find out who their friends are. Get the phone numbers. Find out who the doctors are. Get on the HIPAA forms so that they can release information to you. Get the telephone numbers for the HIPAA forms. Find out.
And the HIPAA form is the form that the doctors have, because they won't talk to you, the privacy documents.
Piece. So, you know, if we go to the doctor with our loved one, say, hey, we're out of town, Mom's here by herself, you know, I'd like to be called. Mom, are you okay if I'd like to be called? You have a plan going in there so that it's not confrontational when you're there.
Okay.
And you can say to Mom, I'd like you to be on my form too, because if something happens to George and I, or whatever it is, Dave and I want somebody else to be able to do that.
Right.
So, you know, there's nothing threatening about doing that.
Right.
We're just putting a backup plan in place.
Right.
But, you know, finding out the circle, seeing where they're driving, getting in the car and driving with them, see how they're doing, getting that visual of knowing what the situation really is, and then asking friends for phone numbers and make that contact. And
that actually makes sense, because even my parents, my mom has a couple of neighbors that I have their phone number and they have mine just in case, and they kind of watch out for each other. They're all in that age range where they all kind of keep tabs on everybody. And my mom actually has a really good friend that's 94 this year, and she's lives in a 55 plus community, lives on her own, and her neighbor behind her knows that if she doesn't open up her curtains at a certain time of the day, she's got a key to go into the house. So
that's the beauty. If you have that kind of neighborhood that you can do that with, that is one of the most common things that people do. Pull up the shade, open the curtain, and everybody does it by whatever the time they decide, 9 or 10 o'clock, so that you get on the phone the minute you don't see it's open at 10 o'clock, and then you have a plan to go in, and people have keys. You know, so that if somebody does fall down, they're not there all by themselves. Same thing, you close the curtain at 8 o'clock or whatever it is.
Right, and I think she's got a nighttime routine as well. So you at Visiting Angels so a couple weeks ago we had John Scott Williams with Fellowship Square, and they're doing kind of a beta testing within their assisted living on the Alexa and some of the Google and Amazon products that are out there. And you too are doing some testing with some
with an Alexa product through Constant Companion. Just a few Visiting Angels offices have them, and ours is one of them. And we have a few families that have one, and it's really unique, the program, I think. I took some notes because I can't remember it all, but they will exchange, if you have an Alexa, they will exchange it out and give you the product that works with the software. But you can call for help. There's that they will do med reminders. They'll do 24-hour monitoring. They learn your activity patterns. They will do daily live check-ins with you to see what it is.
So it's kind of like having a caregiver all the time. I know your caregivers go in on a regular basis as well, but this kind of gives someone 24 hours, 7 day a week of it's 8 a.m. take your meds or take the blue pill and the pink pill now or whatever.
24 care around the clock is really expensive and not always necessary, but you need those eyes on, and sometimes you have those points where you need somebody to take a medication. You want to make sure, even the check-in after that they did it in case there's a reaction or something, something new. So and the beauty of it is they'll give you, if you have a huge house, they'll give you 7 of them if you need 7 of them to be able to hear. It's all voice activated.
Okay.
You never have to push a button. You never have to do anything but just say, Alexa, help, or,
Yeah. And I'm assuming that it's got call, if they don't react a certain way, it either calls you or it calls whoever is on the list.
Correct. And it also comes with its own Wi-Fi, so the homes don't have to be wired.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Nope, they don't have to pay for Wi-Fi. It comes with its own Wi-Fi pack, so that way you don't have to go in and make all kinds of changes that kind of are above their.
Do you see that's how the way of the future for seniors?
Artificial intelligence is becoming huge because the caregiver shortage is a crisis nationally, probably internationally, just not having enough people.
Yeah.
So, and having enough people that are qualified. So looking at creative ways to utilize systems that will work comfortably and easily and integrate into people's homes is the wave. It's where we're going.
Of the future.
It's the wave of the It's the wave of now. The wave has started.
And because we have all these, I don't know what the statistics are, but the baby boomers are turning 74, 75, 76 maybe in that age, and the baby boomers are such a large group, and there isn't. We already have a shortage of caregivers to take care. Even medical. My oldest daughter's a registered nurse, and they're even needing more registered nurses and CNAs and therapists and
getting help at their home. That's another thing that's coming through is, you had Dispatch Health here and they gave you, that has been a lifesaver for families who don't have cars, who don't drive, who are uncomfortable, who it's really awkward to get out of the house.
Right.
They have been phenomenal to work with.
Yeah. And I know that falls are one of the biggest concerns that folks have now is because once someone falls, then it's kind of a snowball effect of medical issues that can come up. Is that correct?
It really can be. The way a neurologist described it to me is as we get older, our bodies get a little bit more fragile, but you have people that are seemingly perfect, let's say at age 90.
Okay.
But all of a sudden they fall down. And in our bodies, when something's wrong, our bodies go to heal that little piece.
Right.
Well, because they were such a perfectly balanced little glass puzzle, when we have a fall or a urinary tract infection or pneumonia or something where a lot of energy goes to that part of the body to heal it, all the other places that had little energies keeping it all so perfectly balanced become off kilter because the bulk of that energy has gone to fix the more acute issue.
Okay.
And that's how they described it to me.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great visual
that makes
to be
a
able
lot
to
of
understand.
Sense. Yeah. Well, I do know that you have seminar. Well, you also write for the Arizona Republic too. So, how often can somebody find your article?
Once a month.
Okay.
It's the name of the article is called Sandwich Generation, or the name of the column.
Okay.
And I've been doing it since 2012.
Okay.
And it's usually the second week of the month, often the second Wednesday in the East Valley.
Okay.
But sometimes on the west side or north, sometimes it's on a Monday or Friday.
Right.
But it just, I talk about resources. I talk about things, concepts people should consider thinking about. They should talk about things that they don't know, whether it's something hospice related, something fall related, an event that's coming up, things to think about.
Right.
You know, what it's
to try
like,
to get that
just whether
prevention.
even emotional thoughts to get you going. The ones that are the hardest to write, the ones that are the most difficult to write because they're awkward or uncomfortable or scary, are the ones I get the most comments on.
Interesting.
But, you know, I had one, what is it like to put the love of your life into memory care? And boy, you know, that was a great, the responses were wonderful, and it gives you really great insight.
Yeah.
And working with people all the time, every day, we've got, hundreds of clients, you can tell their story in a way, because when it's their story, it's 1,000 other people's
everybody
stories,
else's
or
story.
100,000 other people else's story. So you can tell it in a real non-threatening way, so that maybe that one little tweak, if you just take that one little tweak, they understand, and maybe we can prevent it from happening to you.
Yeah, and I actually have a client right now who we moved him into assisted living, and his wife had to go into memory care, and just the guilt that he has been feeling since he's done it. So I do understand, it's one of those things where it's not just that person that's going through it. It's everybody else is going through the same thing.
Dementia is, it affects the whole village in a whole different way. And it's been an interesting observation. I teach a lot of classes about different things after being in this industry for a long time, trying to help people kind of navigate this journey. And it's interesting to me that caregivers of people with dementia have a guilt that people who are taking care of somebody with cancer or ALS or COPD or congestive heart failure, they don't have that.
Interesting.
Because in some profound way, people feel like they should be able to help their person. And,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, but that...
I don't know if there's any statistics on it. I've actually not looked it up, but just from everybody that I've talked to and all the different people that I've been in front of and around and listened to, and I've facilitated support groups over the years and do so currently still, and I learn every single day, every single minute.
And probably the caregivers are the ones that you deal with a lot, just because they're the ones that need them. Not that the patient or the loved one doesn't need the help, but it's the caregiver that actually needs that moral support and just making sure that they are feeling like what they're doing matters, even though they probably are overworked and tired. And
support and validation and care for caregivers is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
I mean, the statistic is 60% of caregivers die before the people that they take care of.
Yeah.
And that's not an age-related statistic.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No, that's just kind of an across the board, because they don't pay attention. They don't remember to go to the doctor. They don't make those doctor appointments.
Yeah, that makes sense. So give us the information. You have a successful aging conference coming up in September, and give us. We are going to have. Hopefully, we're going to have the live link for the Eventbrite on the page once it goes active or live. So give us the date and what they'll learn at this conference.
Okay, so we're calling this one the Roadmap Edition. I've got different kinds of editions that I do. But so it's at Red Mountain Multi-Generational Center.
Okay.
And it is Saturday, September 28th.
Okay.
And it's going to be 9:30 to 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Essentially, there will be free care for anybody. If you have somebody that you can't leave alone,
right?
A loved one that you can't leave alone. Oakwood Creative Care has a day program.
Okay.
And it's right next door to the Multi-Gen Center.
Okay.
So we've got sponsors. So there's, the daycare. There will be a program of engagement.
Okay.
Free engagement throughout the whole program.
Okay.
For attendees of the conference.
Okay, great.
And the conference is free.
Okay.
You get your coffee and snack in the morning, lunch, and then we've got 5 speakers.
Okay.
I'm doing a presentation called The 10 Things Nobody Tells You When You Age, and that's kind of my 101 class.
I love that seminar. If anybody can hear you talk about that, just that one alone gives a wealth of information.
Well, thank you. And then Shelley Drews, who has a company called Help My Senior, which does a lot of dementia care.
Right.
She's going to do a dementia talk.
Okay.
Scott Fisher from Options for Senior Living and Passers. He's going to talk about what if I'm not safe at home anymore. He owns a company that does placement, and he's got agents all over the valley, and just talk about how to navigate that. What do you look for? How do you do it? What do you just the whole piece. Joan Marlowe, who is a life coach, Reiki master, just a wellness guru in general. Okay. She's going to do a class on care for the caregiver. Okay. How to keep how to keep yourself well and healthy, and how to engage in ways that are comfortable, that you can fit in little snippets of time when you can find them. Okay. And then Francisco Servent from Keystone Law Firm is going to talk about how to avoid a financial crisis, if a health issue should come up. Okay. And these are all tried and true people that I have used for years. We do these programs. I mix and match people in different ways, but our reviews always come back like all five. We get a couple of fours in there, but we're just giving the meat and potatoes information. It's really of good what people need to know.
Yeah, the last two that you've had have been hugely successful, and I think people go away, they think they know what the conference is about, and I think what is so amazing is that they go away with so many resources.
Pleasantly surprised. Yeah. That's, I think, my favorite phrase. And I guess my other favorite phrase from those is, we actually gave you real stuff. We didn't talk on top of things or around things. We gave you steps and ideas and handouts and lists of resources and different kinds of things.
And ways to just go through some of these processes that people are...
How to bring up the conversation, what to do, what are the the ticket items. And I've never taught that class 10 Things Nobody Tells You without people saying, I thought I had it all together. I thought I had it all together. So
and when you go through those crises, you even when you prepare, there's still things that come up that you weren't prepared for. So it's always good to get over prepared than under prepared, because there's always something that's going to get in the way, or something new that you didn't even talk about.
Right, because if you plan ahead and you kind of do it, you have choices. Right. When you kind of make that choice not to make a choice, you lose options.
You're limited when that situation hits.
Extremely limited.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So if someone needs to get a hold of you, and what I like about Elaine too is she will come to you to speak if you have, a church group or an organization, if you have a company that lunchtime you've done lunch.
Lots of lunch and learns.
So, and the best way to get Elaine is 480-203-8548. That's 480-203-8548. Thank you so much. We're going to have you come back because you've got so much information to talk about. So.
Thank you, Lydia. I really appreciate being here.
Thanks.
Thanks.